extreme reactions. Some say positive, some say negative. But it does bring us to a conversation about religion in pro sports, in the field, in the locker room. And Hall of Fame quarterback Fran Tarkenton is in Atlanta this morning. And Buffalo Bills wide receiver David Nelson is a former teammate of Tebow's, and he's in Dallas. Nice to see you, gentlemen. It was great to read your op-ed, Mr. Tarkenton, because I thought it was so fascinating. I want to just run a little bit of what you wrote, which was basically the question about, does anybody, does God have a dog in the fight when it comes to who wins on the field? Tell me a little bit about your experience, because I would guess everybody's praying in the locker room and gets very, very, very religious right before the game.
Well, most football players are superstitious. We put on our left shoe if first rather than our right shoe. If we've had some success and we won the week before, so you get the same patterns. And nobody wants to alienate anybody. They want to go out with a pure heart and a pure soul. I don't think anybody believes that God has a part of winning or losing. And certainly there were 43% of people in the New York Times said on Sunday that thought there was divine intervention going on in Tebow's life in football. I think it was proved differently Saturday night with Tom Brady. Tebow may not be the greatest quarterback in the world, but he's one of the greatest guys in the world, and I think it's a great feel-good story.
Let's look to a little bit of what Tim Tebow said. This was a quote from USA Today. He said, "I don't have to live the roller coaster other people live with my life," and I think that's a fair description, roller coaster. "It's hard because people try to have an effect. I try to stay centered in my faith and my family and the close people around me." You knew, David, Tim Tebow, because you were roommates. Tell me a little bit about how all of this is affecting him, not just the success on the field, but sort of the focus on the Tebowing.
Tim's a very he's a very center-focused guy. He loves his family, he loves his friends, he loves his teammates. He really surrounds himself with people who he really wants to be around. I think he does a great job with that, and he tries not to let the whole media and all the fans get to him too much. He tries to just stay within himself and just live his life and tries to be a normal person. With the whole media hype, like how he said, is a roller coaster, and people love him, they hate him. Discussions, religion, football player. There's so many things around his life that are being discussed, and every aspect of his life is always being evaluated. So I think what he tries to do is just surround himself with people who he trusts, people who he cares about, and then he tries to just get away from things and just tries to focus on life.
Why do you think, Fran, if I can call you that, it's weird, my husband would be like, call him Mr. Tarkenton. Why do you think there's this backlash? People who, the minute they lost, it was, oh, I guess God doesn't love, the Broncos. I guess God has given up and moved past Tim Tebow. Why the backlash, do you think? What's that about?
Tim Tebow is being Tim Tebow. He's not causing any of the backlash or the interest in him. He's a football player. He's a good Christian young man. He's got great morals, and he's got his life balanced. But quarterbacks are controversial. If you win, you're great. If you lose, they forget about you. You won't read about Aaron Rodgers anymore. You won't read much about Tim Tebow. You're going to read about Tom Brady and Eli Manning and the other quarterbacks that are in the playoffs, and that's just the way it is. Nobody knows who the runner-up team in the Super Bowl ever was. I was a runner-up 3 times. Nobody remembers that. They remember the teams that beat us.
We remember now that you mentioned it. Let me ask David a question. How does Tim Tebow deal with the mocking? Because there's been, as much as people cheer him, there's a lot of mocking, when SNL sort of does pieces on you. And does it bother him at all?
I think he's fine whenever it's attacking him personally. I think he's a person that's very confident in what he can do. He's very focused on his abilities and his leadership roles and his part on the team. But I think where he draws the line is when you start questioning his faith, when you start mocking his faith. I think that's where he draws the line. That's something he's very serious and very passionate about. So many times, so much is made of what he does on and off the field, and he's very passionate about what he does. But at the same time, he draws the line whenever you start making fun of what he believes in his faith and Jesus Christ and God.
David Nelson and Fran Tarkenton, nice to have you chatting with us this morning. Certainly appreciate that. Anybody want a Tebow? Out of respect.
I want to know if you watched the game.
I did watch the game.
Okay.
In fact,